Okay, Misha, stop. She's turning red. All right. Shh. What? What are you? What is Slenderman?
Like an internet.
All right. Shh. The first question. The first question, I did it this way. Now, some people did not do a double angle identity, but I just see the double angle identity when I take a derivative 2 sine of x cosine of x, because I want to avoid product rule. And if I do that, then 2 sine of x cosine of x, I'm missing an x, sorry. If I see that, I change it to double angle identity like this. And if I take a derivative, I feel like this is faster, so I don't have to deal with product rule. So I still applying algebra when I'm doing this. And then this is 2x. By the way, if you divide by 2 on both sides, that 2 does not go away because that 2x is the 2x is inside the argument. So it cannot be go away. So 2x is equal to pi over 2, and 2x is equal to 3 pi over 2, and then x is equal to pi over 4, and x is equal to 3 pi over 4. Now, even though I hear, then you probably gonna want to assume that's critical point. Please do me a favor, do not assume. Number line test them, because sometimes they do not change in sign. So you could have negative, negative, positive, and that's going to be one inflection point rather than 2. Well, in this case, you do. And some people says, how do you plug in a point? Well, plug in pi over 6, because between 0 to pi over 4, inside the unit circle, pi over 6 is going to be one thing to plug in. And then if you plug in pi over 6, the cosine 2x is going to be cosine 2 times pi over 6, which is cosine pi over 3. Cosine of pi over 3 is positive. Yes?
Could you also possibly do 0 and pi for the outer intervals since they're in the closed interval? Like for that outer part, could you plug in 0 and pi?
In this case, yes, but I prefer not to. Just because sometimes, depend on where is the boundary is. So sometimes maybe misguidance. And so for me, I would rather be safe if I can do it. If I cannot do it, then I'll plug in 0 and pi, and it probably wouldn't work because cosine of 0 is 1 and still positive, right? So it is fine in this case, but is that all the time? No. When you have no option, then that's plan B. I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yes.
This question is great. This question is asking you to take a second derivative on the chain rule questions, which is phenomenal questions. This is one. How many of you guys got C? Raise your hand if you got C. Fiona, Kaden. Okay. No, I appreciate that you guys raise your hand. The C is not correct because you didn't do number line test. That's why I say this is how AP exam will trap you. Is they will know student doubt a second derivative automatically means inflection point. Yes. You can use calculator on anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. Does that make sense? Because you cannot just say, oh yeah, the second derivative equal to 0 is inflection point. No, it's a possible inflection point. Brendan, should I throw that phone out the window?
Oh, you should.
Because Bennett would throw your phone out the window.
I'll do it.
If next time you're using it, Bennett's gonna throw your phone out the window. Toss as far as you can.
Yes, sir. You want to see what phone looks like? Going on. Is your phone like in pieces? Yes.
That's okay. We're gonna make more shatter.
Oh my goodness. How do you even use it?
Is that iPhone or like Android?
Yes. Yeah, I know you texted me, but I only like really.
What did you do? Like sit on it?
Did you try to eat it?
Huh?
A little. Just a little bit.
Okay, so shh. Now, so this question I'm gonna talk about a lot. This is gonna be something to do with your homework. Now, this question, if you want to write on your notes, please write this thing down. Okay? If you look at these questions, right? It says f double prime of x. But we have f prime of x graph. Now, how do you find the relationship between prime and double prime? Basically, the slope of f prime of x. So that means I'm looking at the slope. Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they positive? You look at the slope of f prime of x because slope means what? Derivative, right? Slope means derivative, right? Is equal to f double prime of x. So then I can do a number line based on the second derivative. And I'm basically looking at the slope of f prime. So before b, it's going to be positive. Is that okay? And after b to d, it's going to be negative. From d to e, it's going to be positive. So therefore, inflection points are b and d. Because I'm looking at the slope of f prime. Did everybody understand that or no? Because slope of f prime, yes.
So is it as simple as I just looked at it where it like changed from to down? Like
Yes, but you have to be careful with that because I will prefer to have a number line drawing because sometimes your brain playing tricks with you. So it just me, I will always draw a number line test and I'll refer back to number line. Now, number line is not justification. So you have to justify it as B is an inflection point because f double prime of x changing from positive to negative at B and changing from negative to positive at D. Yes, Fiona? Why? Because here slope is 0, right? At that point, slope is 0. But before that, if you see here, there's all positive slope, right? We're not looking at positive and negative region now. We look at the slope of the line now, or slope of f prime x mainly. And this is a minus, and this is a positive. Now remember, I told you before that on AP exam, if you understand this type of question, it's gonna get you a lot of points. A lot of you guys are not really good with arithmetic, and that's okay. You still can pass the AP exam with just knowing this type of stuff. So you can ask, I would say Umar. Umar is the one person that really bad arithmetic, but he passed with a 4 because he can do this kind of question easily. Yen is another type of person that's probably gonna do well on this section, but arithmetically they are really awful. And that's no offense to them, just that they lack of practice. They didn't practice enough. Like Ian doesn't want to do too much homework. But Ian, when it comes down to like comprehension and understanding, he's the first one to tell me the answer always. So he has some advantage and disadvantage. You are gonna try to prove on the thing that you can do very well and do very well on those and get as many points as possible. Neil, do you understand this question? Do you understand? Are you sure? What if I ask you a new question? Will you able to answer it? Okay. So where's relative maximum occur in here? No. See, you didn't understand your question. B is not relative maximum because B is an inflection point. A lot of you guys don't realize you guys zone out for 10 seconds and then that turned to 10 minutes. Where's the relative maximum occur? Original function. Huh? Where's the relative maximum occur in f of x? C. Go from positive to negative. But inflection point happened at where? B and D, because it's changing from increasing to decreasing. So Neil, you gotta lock in. Yes.
Over the x-axis and then under the y.
Okay, so there are two type of number line. Now, I'm gonna do two type of number line here. Maybe that way you can understand, because that's part of today's homework. I'm gonna do two type of number line here. One is f of prime of x. That looks for above x-axis or below x-axis. So before a and c and whatever that, so that's gonna be, this is gonna be below x-axis. Does that make sense? This above x-axis and this is below. So this is increasing in original function. No, sorry, decreasing in original function, increasing in original function, decreasing in original function. Now we're gonna do f double prime of x. This time I'm not looking at above x-axis or below x-axis. I'm looking at increasing and decreasing of f prime, because increasing and decreasing is the slope of f prime. So if a slope like b here, well, b happened between a and c, so b is right here. That is positive. Does that make sense? Between B to D is what? Down, decreasing. And that's up. Do you see that? There's a difference between two number lines. And that's what you're going to do today's homework. An inflection point is going to happen B and D. Maximum is going to happen at C. Minimum is going to happen at A. Trust me. There is 9 points on this. 9 points. You only needed 42 to get 3. And there was 9 points here. And there was no calculation. I know half of you guys hate calculations. My calculation, I require a lot. You can fail my test and still get a 4 on AP exam. Ask Umar, he will tell you. He failed every single damn test that can possibly exist. But he got through. Omar too. This question. I love this question. And then when I say I love this question, that means you will see it on my test. Huh? Yeah, because each thing is looking for different things.
Do I get it right? No.
How many of you guys got it right?
Thank you, Pat.
Nice, nice. Okay, so let's start with, huh? No, because the answer is 9 points slow form, you dumbass. On my test, yes. Unless I says changes standard form. But I might, I don't know. Depend on my mood that day when I create a test. You know, I'd write a test in the morning. Okay, start from very beginning. Do you guys understand the question? They say find equation tangent line. And you say, okay, equation tangent line is y minus y1, m times x minus x1. There was at least 5 points on about equation tangent line. If you have 9 and 5, that's 14. That's 1/3 of chance to get a 3 already. You just have to know how to do equation tangent line. Y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. Now, we got to figure out where does the x value happen. In point inflection means second derivative equal to 0. So to take a second derivative equal to 0, you got x equal to 1/2. Do you guys get that? Yes? Gabby, did you get that? Second derivative equal to 0. Okay, now, what happened? We have this component of the equation tangent line. I'm still missing this one. I'm still missing this one. This one is a slope. So you're going to plug in the derivative. So you're going to plug into the derivative function. Plug in here. And if you work out the math, yes, you need to learn how to add fractions, subtract fraction. And you need to do that. It's -3/2. I'm going to do it again. Plug in original. 1/2 into original. Why? Because I needed the output. And once I got that, it's going to be negative 1/2. So I got 3 components. And when you're doing something, practice mindfulness. What I mean by practice mindfulness is just when you're doing stuff. I think I talk about this. There's a difference between practice as something or meaningful practice. Like when you practice, I don't know, softball, soccer, whatever. Is your intensity is like, just like I'm just gonna go there, kick the ball, or is it gonna go there, you're gonna kick the ball? There's a difference in intensity. So when you're doing homework, you need to make sure you have the right intensity. You need to make sure that, man, I need to be on top of this, getting things right. I know the people who can get really high intensity when you're doing the problem. I think Neil does that. Nelly does that. Like she's really locked in trying to solve the problem. Alejandra really tried to lock into the problem. Chris on first period does that. Lock in, try to do a problem. Another person was very good as Elsa. Elsa from third period, she's locked into a problem. Another one I would say a bit. A bit's handwriting just atrocious, but those of you guys know a bit. You know his handwriting. Yeah, but he's locked in trying to figure out how to do a problem. Those are people like with a high intensity. Like when you're doing something, you know, make sure you do best at. So make sure you don't simple mistakes. There is no simple mistake. Intensity focus on not making simple mistake. Why does that matter though? Because on SAT, look, your ability is probably 700, but by the time you finish your testing, you are 630. Why? That's 70 points due to a lot of simple mistakes. I promise you, you're gonna look back, you're gonna realize it's all the simple mistake you make. So if you realize if you practice correct here, then you know over there you're gonna practice correct. So those of you guys do sports, those of you guys do cross country, those of you guys doing other things, you have to be able to lock in. I give it an analogy to my son the other day. He was playing ping pong and playing horribly. And I was like, dude, why you lost to Rogov? Those of you guys know Rogov. And I when he come in to play ping pong with Rogov, he was like, he's not really focused. And I say, why do you lost to Rogov? I say, my very good analogy is like this. You gotta be able to turn, like you watch like comics, right? And I says, you had to be able to turn into like Super Saiyan anytime. Not just like, no, right now I cannot turn into Super Saiyan. You had to be able to turn into Super Saiyan when you're doing homework. You get it now?
Yeah.
That's a good analogy, right?
You're pretty
that's why I told him too. I was like, you gotta be like, ah.
I'm gonna come to school one day during the effort. Oh my gosh. Why don't I come to school and it's a higher class. It's really annoying. Right? Oh, they're actually calculating.
Liam, what's your question? Are you talking about? Hold on a second. Does somebody have a legitimate question? This part?
Bottom left.
This part?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the equation tangent line, right? I distribute them. This one is gonna give you positive 3, 4. And then I distribute them to this. This is point slow form. Now, with the standard form is you can multiply everything. Standard form is x and y on the same side and get rid of fraction. So I multiply by 4. So when I get multiplied by 4, that's going to give you 4y. If I multiply by 4, 4 and 2 cancel level 2. It'll be negative 6x. If I just times by 4, that's going to give you 1. So I move the 6x to the other side. I got 4y plus 6x equal to 1. Yeah, 1/4.
It's 3/4 and it's 1/4. Right.
Oh, because I subtract 1/2. Right? Okay, so this last questions here. I got E. Did everybody got E?
Five.
Now, I will say this though. I think a lot of people, I'm afraid of this test because this test you cannot annotate on because everything's going to be on computer screen. So you cannot annotate on a paper. So what you're going to do is you're going to write here, you're going to say f prime x is greater than 0. That means increasing. That's how you annotate on a separate sheet of paper. Because you only can extract the information to there to here. And this concave up, and you're going to look at this is increasing, but this region is concave up. The other region is concave down. So you got to be able to annotate now on computer, but I don't know. I'm going to have to come up with a strategy, make sure that you don't lose points from translation between the paper and computer. Make sure you type in the key right also. Pick the answer, right answer. Sometimes it's just like that. This you have to be careful. Yes. I'm really debating on computer now because that's gonna be on computer. So I want you to get used to that. I have no idea. I'm gonna ask around. I have no idea. It's what? Yeah, but the screen still show FRQ or the.
It shows the FRQ questions on the screen and then like you answer on a content.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard too about like other.
But that way you can use your Desmos calculator on the calculator.
Get rid of the Desmos for the non-calculator.
They should.
Hopefully they don't.
Leave it there, please.
Oh, what did it do?
Oops, I didn't close the window.
My bad.
All right, so 6. The 6 is, do you see this is decreasing? So you annotate, when you annotate stuff, decreasing means f prime x less than 0. That was quick.
Oh.
Is it easy?
I can grade it.
Okay, so f prime x is less than 0 because it's going down. F double prime is positive because you see the opening is facing up. So if you draw a tangent line here, it's below, so it's concave up. And see that f of x is greater than 0. Why is it greater than 0? Because they're above x-axis. So the answer is B. 7 and 8, that's very self-explanatory. 7 and 8, just do the number line, but I told you guys align it correctly. If you align it correctly, it's going to be much better. So I got B and I got A. But A, you need to take one more derivative because they give you f prime of x, so you want to take one more derivative. When I second period I went over, I forgot to take another derivative, and the student says, no, Mr. Ye, you did it wrong. True, they happen to every one of us. We're going to forget stuff. But you have to make sure that you look at the question, says you concave downward, you need a second prime. They give you f prime, that means you have to take a derivative factor out. Jesus, you got it?
Yeah, I was writing it down as well.
But did you get an answer?
No.
Jesus, you gotta try. Okay, so 9. I take a 2 derivative, I factor out 60x, and I solve for the 0, so be square root 2 over 2, kind of like the homework questions.
Oh wait, I found that. I just wrote the wrong answer.
Gabby, don't just take a picture, write it down, write it down. If you take a picture, you're never gonna look at it. You got thousands of pictures, you don't look at it on your photo album. You know that's true.
I just wrote those down. Oh, wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, take that.
When you get my grandpa. When you get my grandpa.
Right in my hair. My
All right, any question about this one? You guys need to learn how to do things on your own. So like Jesus, Gabby, I need you to try. Try it as much as you can. You cannot just copy it right now. You gotta try the maximum effort. When you gotta do this, at least take a second to do it. At least you draw a number line. At least you try something. If you fail at something, it's okay. If you got it wrong, I'm okay with you got it wrong. But I'm okay you go all the way through. Even if it's completely wrong, just go all the way through and you go back and change whatever thing you need to change. Because the first mistake is not a problem. And that's how you perform on a test. If you want to perform well on a test, you have to treat this like a test. Oh, that's a good quote.
Start a quote book. It'll go really wrong with that.
I want to do question 12 because I think this one's kind of interesting. I take a derivative, I split them before I take a derivative. I can choose to do quotient rule. I choose early to do quotient rule, but it doesn't end too well. So I was like, you know what? Let's split them, take a derivative. That's much better way to do something. But it just at the third step here, I combine the fraction. That's the only thing that people don't know what to do because you need to have a factor on the numerator and a factor on the denominator. So you get to this part and you got this. But here's my question. Is a 0 an inflection point? Is a 0 an inflection point? Thank you, Fiona. Fiona is paying attention. It's a vertical asymptote. So at 0 is no point of inflections. Because if you plug in 0 here, it's undefined. So inflection point, you have to double check with the original function though. If the original function is not defined, it's not inflection point. Now, can APXM trick you like that? I don't think so. I think that's kind of out of the realm. But you do need to know for my test. Yes.
When doing number line tests, I thought you had to use the cleavage factor.
2 doesn't matter because 2 does not contribute to sign change. You can have a 2, but it doesn't contribute to sign change. Imagine if I put 2 right here. That 2 does not make the sign change. If it's a negative 2, yes. If it's a negative 2, that contributes to sign change. Positive 2 doesn't. It's like x squared plus 1 does not change. Any questions? All right, we're going to talk about today's work. This is super important. Learn how to draw a number line on the F prime or F double prime. Look at here. So this is a, sorry, let me put notability here. So this is F prime of X. I'm gonna use different color. F prime of X. That means you're looking for what? You look for above or below. Now, I will tell you on APXM, they'll only give you F prime of X graph. They don't ever ask you to analyze F double prime of X graph. Now, I'm not saying never. It's probably 5% out of 100% that they will ask that way. So it's, it's very rarely, because it's much more question can be asked if I give you F prime of X graph. So most usually on APXM, they give you F prime of X graph. And you say, okay, you draw a number line based on above or below x-axis, because that means positive and negative. Does that make sense? But the second one, F double prime of X, is you look for slope of F prime of X, which is increasing versus decreasing of F prime of X. Does that make sense? So if you see that this is 1, this is going to be negative. And you see this is negative, and you see this is positive because it was below x-axis. Negative, negative. And then this part is positive, so this part is positive. Does that make sense? Bennett, you follow me? Sure. Neil, Liam. I know you guys are tending to zone out. Now, if you look at here, this is gonna go up. So this is why this is positive all the way to 1. Why? Because it stopped going up there. It says 0. The 0 is means there's horizontal tangent here. And there's a 0 here is horizontal tangent. Here's negative, and now here's positive. See, look at the slope. So second derivative, look at the slope. So today, your homework, you gotta be able to draw the number line. And you gotta be able to tell me the slope. In your test, yes.
Concavity, would you have to listen to third derivative?
No, concavity is the here. Because that's the second derivative. Because this one's f prime of x graph. This f prime of x graph. Let me label that better because maybe you didn't see that. Is that okay? Yes.
You have to answer them in sentence form.
Huh?
You have to answer the questions in sentence.
Yes, and we're gonna say justification. So critical point. Critical point means what? F prime of x equal to 0. So in this case is what?
1.
1 and 4? Good. And you're gonna say this is f prime of x equal to 0. That's the sentence right there. Actually, that's the sentence. F prime of x equal to 0. This is a math sentence right there. Where's the relative maximum? Alan's the only one have it right. Alan says what? There isn't any.
Oh yeah.
Because you never change it from positive to negative.
The graph of the slope.
So if it's absolute, we would put 5. But since it's relative, there's none.
Not even necessary is 5.
Because it never goes.
It's possible 5, but it's not necessary. Because that's an f prime of x graph. You cannot, it's really hard to see from what an actual graph. You only can tell like the identification for certain things, but not able to tell like what exactly your value is going to be. Later on you do after integration. Right now we don't. Where's the relative men? Where's the relative men?
4.
It's a 4, Liam. Why it's 4? Because you see this one went from negative to positive. So that is 4. Now you're gonna say this. Now this sentence form is means what? F prime of x change from what?
Negative to positive.
From negative to positive, yes. And that's how you write it. Increasing is gonna be what? Just look at the number then. It's a 4 to 5. You're gonna say f prime of x is greater than 0. Decreasing, you're gonna say negative 1 to 1, and the 1 to 4. That means f prime of x is less than 0. Point inflection where? X equal to what? 1 and what? 3. Concave up is what? Negative 1 to 1, and 3 to 5, and then 1 to 3. You're gonna say f double prime of x changing sign.
It's got a crappy video. You got her family's inheritance. Right.
DM, I'm gonna answer this question. You got a question?
She like gets all these opportunities and very rich man. She's like, oh, I can do better. I can do better. Thing ends with her getting a job, getting fired, and she dies. And she drinks too many. It's the
That sounds pretty dumb.
One core. Right, your pencil too. Like, your friends so like dude, a little bit on your it's not being fired. I saw him. I don't know. I took it from him.
Bye.
The one outside with the fire is so stupid.
How's life? Good. I didn't give you homework on Halloween day.
I think Emma was stressing out about that. She thought that was gonna be the trick.
He rejected you. Cry about it.
Oh, I think one. Okay. One is okay. One is
It's brownie batter. You made brownies? No. It's edible brownie.
yeah.
You made.
What?
What kind of brownie?
It's not all brownie batter. It's brownie batter. Like it's like like the batter before you make the brownies. Why is the other kind not? Because it has like dry stuff in it. Like. Like it. It's white chocolate, but it's like. Alright. Wait, why did you make rice? Yeah. Did you just pull it off? Yeah. But I didn't SGA. You're just there.
That kid is an interesting child.
I'm not doing that.
Diego, you're a funny child.
It's the thing I grew up with my dad and my mom. Or my mom and my dad. I don't know.
Interesting kid. All right, so I didn't give you a homework for not homecoming, homework for the thing. So I'm gonna give you a few questions right now, and you can talk about those. What happened to your table?
There's so much stuff happening today. Happening this week. There's like